All right, so I wanted to show you guys around a program that we use for chapel right now called Worship Tools Presenter. So if you go to Google and type in Worship Tools Presenter, you're going to find a link right here to this. So we're going to click on Presenter by Worship Tools. And if you were to come in here and hit download, I could click on download for whatever computer you happen to have, Windows or Mac, and that program will get downloaded and you can use it. Now, a couple of things I want to mention right off the bat. First off, if you type in Presenter, you're not going to see this if you're not on a Mac and you won't have this program installed. Presenter and Pro Presenter are very different programs. We do own Pro Presenter in the broadcast studio, but Presenter by itself is what we use for chapel. They're very different. We are talking about using Presenter. Pro Presenter can do all these things and tremendously more, but it's much more complicated, and Presenter is a better solution for right now. So a couple things I want to note just off the bat with Presenter is that we use the free version of Presenter. It costs $0 for a lifetime. There are 10 users, but they're associated all with one account. What that means is that only one person can be logged in at any time and using this. So you cannot have two chapels running in different places using this same library. It won't work. You could always create a separate account for Presenter, but you wouldn't have access to everything that we've already made. 10 users and different people can log in, but it's the same stuff. So that's kind of cool. In an individual service, you can only get 15 items. I'll show you what that looks like in a second, but you can have as many services and songs as you want in CCLI auto reports. Something that also is kind of cool about the Worship Tools Presenter software is that it's a cloud-based thing and it has 500 megabytes included for files, video backgrounds, stuff like that. If that gets full, it won't sync between them. It actually plays everything from the local machine though. So if you had a video file and you needed it to go, you want to take the machine you're actually going to present with, plug in the file, and then load it into Presenter from there, and it will work, even if it didn't sync through the cloud. But the cloud thing is really cool, and aside from what I just mentioned with having a file that's beyond the cloud storage somewhere locally, you know, if something were to go wrong with a computer right before chapel, you could literally come to this website, download Presenter on a different computer, log in with it, and it would work the same way. So that's very cool. Let's show you what it looks like. So I'm going to come over here real quick and I'm going to log out so you see what it looks like from the very beginning when you open Presenter. I'm going to say log in now. And for an email address, this could be any one of your users. I'm going to type in chapel@lutheranwest.com because this is kind of our primary account. And the password for this is in the password document that I made for AV if it doesn't change. I use the same password for all of it. I'm not going to mention it in the video in case there's people who shouldn't have it that are watching the video. But other people will have their own passwords. So when you log in, you're going to see something like this. Now, a couple of just very quick notable things as you're watching. First off, you'll see on my computer, it says main display off. Well, why does it say main display off? Here, I'm going to maximize this. Main display off because I don't have an external monitor plugged in. So this always, like a lot of presentation programs, uses an external monitor, so a television, a screen, a projector, something like that. And because I don't have one plugged in, it says it's off. You can turn it on from here, and if you hit the configure button, it's going to take you to your operating system. One thing that's really important to understand is that if you plug in another monitor and you want this to work, the monitor has to be set in Windows or in your Mac to be an extended monitor, not a duplicate of what you're seeing. Otherwise, you're just going to see this control screen on the projector. You want it to be a separate screen. If you don't know how to do that, you can talk to your AV people. But let's go through this and learn a little bit about what's going on. First off, I'm not going to teach you everything. There's a tour. There's things like scriptures. You can use slides. This is not the way that we typically use this stuff. Media is a bin. There's some extra stuff that can happen. Right here is a recent set of services. But even if you don't see this, we can go and get through some stuff. So I'm going to open up from the Services tab. I clicked up here. By the way, when I left click, you're going to see kind of a blue button. And when I right click or two finger click, you're going to see a red button. So On the left button here, you're going to see services, and these are upcoming services. You could click to view all, or you can sort with some things. You can view thumbnails. But I'm going to open up this chapel that's going to be going on here in a couple days. So I'm going to click on it, and now you're going to see over here on the left, it says the name of that chapel, and then you're going to see these things. There's a little folder here that has songs, although it's got everything in it at the moment. So you're going to see that. Now, when it said on this screen over here that you only get 15 items per service, it's basically talking about these slots. So 15, you're like thinking, how can we possibly do that? Well, a Google slideshow or a song only counts as one thing, or a slideshow built-in presenter, which we don't do very often. That only counts as one thing. A video that's separate might count as only one thing. So for our purposes, it generally is just fine. So here's an item right here. If I click on it, then in the middle, it's going to show up with what we're looking for. And this is just an image. This is a logo. By the way, down here in the bottom left is showing you what the audience would see. If I hit the edit button up here, I can edit this cue, and you'll see it says background media. And I have some options over here for how I want to interact with it. And I also have some foreground options. Well, I'm not putting anything over the top of this one. So that's for that cue. It's just a picture. That's all I did. If I wanted to add an item, if I come down here and click add item, then I can choose from some of this stuff. And if all I want to do is show a picture, I can click on background media. Watch what happens when I do this. Now it opened up this media tab up here. But it just opened right to here, and I can come in and choose something that I want to be an image, like this cloud. This is an image. By the way, from here you can unclick the image, and now I'm just seeing motion videos if I wanted to see that. But I want to see an image, and I want to, like, let's take this box raise. So now this added right here, and it's its own cue. When you hover over a cue, you're going to see a pencil icon here. That is the same thing as clicking this edit button right here. So if I needed to, I can manage it. I'm going to right click on this, two-finger click, and I have some options here. I'm just going to delete this particular cue. To add a song is pretty easy. So I can click, there's a couple ways. Let's do it from the left first. I'm going to click on add item. And then here I'm going to choose lyrics on the foreground. And that's going to let me search my song library. And if I start typing in trust, here's all the songs that have the word trust in it, even if it's not in the title. And let's say I wanted this one that was God of Revival. Boom. Now God of Revival is my foreground, and we're going to go over there and look at that in a second. If I want to set a background for it, like a picture or a motion video behind it, I come up to the background tab, and I can choose one. I'll choose this vertical light blur one. That's just fine. No problem. And then that is the background, and over here in the foreground, it's the lyrics to this song. I could change song if I wanted to, but there's other ways to do it. So I'm going to click on the song. If I needed to get back to the screen I was just at, the pencil right here or the edit button up here will take me to the whole cue settings where I can do background and foreground and stuff. When I click regular on the title, I'll see the whole song in here. And if I were to click on a song, I'd be launching it. You can see it down in the bottom corner as I click through. A couple notes, you're going to notice a number or a letter sometimes down here. These are shortcut keys. If I wanted to go to the chorus, I would hit the C key and it would jump me right to that slide. If I hit C again, it doesn't do anything because this second part of the chorus doesn't have a shortcut key. Only the first part of something with that shortcut key will have that option. But I can click through and launch things as you might expect. Very cool. So we're going to deal with songs a little bit more in a second. But let me show you how you might add a Google slideshow. So right here is a Google slideshow, and it's called Johanna Joy Deblock, who was a baby who was born here recently. And now this is a slideshow that's showing inside of Presenter. It's very cool, and it will just take whatever the Google slide had presented and show it on here, including animations. There's a couple of tricks with that sometimes depending on the way that you're using it, and I'll show you maybe some advanced stuff in a second. But as I click through slides, I'm good to go. If you plug in a remote control to your computer, you'll be good to go to click through these things. Now notice up here where it says sync changes. If the person whose slideshow was already loaded in here goes and says they changed the name to say like Giraffe Joy Deblock instead of Johanna, I'm still going to see the original version until I click Sync Changes. Then it's going to go up to Google and download it. And it looks like no one made that change. So it still says Johanna Joy. But if I'm logged in and I click this edit button right here, this is different. This edit button on this will go to the queue properties. This will actually take you into Google Slides so you can try to edit it if you have permissions to do that. Difference between editing a queue, like right there, this will take me to the properties of that queue. That's with the pencil. If I click on the name, I'm going to come back to seeing the actual slideshow. If I click on this pencil, it will take me into Google Slides where I could edit the actual presentation as long as the user gave me permissions. Speaking of that, we have an account that's associated with this. If we come over here to where it says in the gear and I choose settings, which by the way, I can kind of zoom in on some things for you. If I go to connections down here, connections, you're going to see I've got Song Select connected and a Google account connected. If you don't have one of these connected, if it gets disconnected, all you got to do is come into this tab, log in with CCLI. I use the Chapel email address for the CCLI and the Chapel email address for Google. But only one Google account can be associated with it. So if someone's going to share something to be shown in Chapel, you want to share it to chapel@lutheranwest.com, and that's what it's going to pull from. So you could always disconnect it if you need to, but it's best if you always have people send it to the same thing. Then if somebody else is running Chapel in the future, they can still get there. There's some other options in here that you can play around with, and you can watch some tutorials on Worship Presenter. I'm not going to recreate everything that exists for you in this video. But if I wanted to add a Google slideshow, I'm going to come down here to where it says Add Item, and over on the right it says Google Slides. I'm going to choose Google Slides. And then this is showing me all the presentations that were shared with that particular thing. So here's the one that says Johanna Joy Deblock again. And I'm going to click this one. I'm going to add it in. Now it's in twice in this particular presentation. So that is how you would add something like that. I'm going to right click and delete that. Now, we talked about adding songs. We talked about adding a movie or a picture is the same way. We talked about adding songs from this menu. I also want you to show you up here where it says songs. We're going to click here and we can do the same sort of thing where we can type in holy, let's say, in the filter, and all the songs that have holy in here are going to be there. Now you're going to look in this area up here has all the songs in our library, but in this area down here, these are CCLI songs, Song Select songs. It's pulling it in. Also, you'll notice this number. I don't know if you can see it real well. This one says number 707-8152. If I were to search for a song like that, I'm going to go back to songs, search to 707-8152, 8152, and 8152. And then down below, there is the very song that has that exact number so you can match it. On Planning Center, you can often find those numbers associated. That way you can get the exact version. Now, you'll see up here it says there's no song in my library, but down here there's a song. So if I clicked on this and I said, hey, I want to import this, I get to choose how many the max lines per slide is, which depending on the way you're doing it, you might want it to be less or more. Right now it's set to 5, and the template that it'll be imported into. And now I'm going to choose import. I could choose add to service from right there, but I won't at the moment. Now you'll see Holy Ground is down here and it's up here. And if I wanted to, I could click it and drag it over, and now it's inside of my service. If I don't want it in my service, I'm going to hit delete and go back up to songs. Here's this song. I don't need this song. I don't even know this song. We're going to right click and just get it out of our library so that it's no longer here. So the filter has that number in it still. So if I want to clear it, I can see all the songs. If there was already a song that I wanted in here, I can just grab it and drag it in if I felt like it. So that's another way you can kind of build a set pretty quickly. Now, I want to go into a song. And let's go with 10,000 Reasons right now. And here's a song, and it's got all of the lyrics in here. When you import something, you're going to notice that sometimes you need to finesse the way the lyrics flow from place to place. Well, what I'm going to do is come up to where this pencil here is, where it says Edit Slide. Now be aware, the pencil on the side here and this pencil go to the queue properties. When I click this, I'm going to go into the slide editor. Now, in the slide editor, you're going to notice one thing. This is called the Lutheran West Chapel for Video template. I could choose a different one, or I could go in here and edit this template where I could like constrain it to be at the top or the bottom if I wanted to. That's all fine. There's some other formatting options in here. And as I go left or right up here, or I click in the slides, we're going to be able to go through and edit stuff. And sometimes I'll take, there might be a stray line on a song, like I'm going to get rid of this one. I just cut that out. And what I'm going to do is make a new slide right here and paste it. So let's say I imported it from CCLI and its chorus has these 3 lines, but there's this extra line that's just sitting here. I might get rid of this line from here, bring it back to the end of this one because it looks better, and then just delete this slide altogether by right-clicking or 2-finger clicking on it. So you can make all kinds of editing options if you want, but it's best to use templates for doing things so it affects everything the same way. Now down at the bottom, you're going to see something that says Set Custom Slide Order. Wait, hold on, let's skip that for a second. If you need another slide, you can click New Slide right here, If you'll notice that some of these have a colorful square, and this one right here doesn't. In order to make something have a colorful square, you assign a slide label to it. That slide label is what these are, chorus, verse 1, verse 2. So if this ending A, if I wanted it to have an ending label on it, I could come in here, click on the slide, come up to the top, choose ending, and now you'll see that there's 2 that have ending on them. Now, what I really want is I want this one to be called ending B, maybe, or ending 2. And maybe we'll call this one ending 1 so we can keep them separate. But they still have that square. Anytime that you make changes to this stuff, up at the top, you're going to notice the Save button. You have to click that before you click over here, or it won't save those lyrics. So now you'll see ending 1 is the label of this, and that one has the E. Ending 2 actually wasn't used. I'm going to come back into here, and I'm going to say, hey, here's all these lyrics. Here's my order. I make them as clean as possible on as few slides as are necessary, and then I'm going to go and make an order for them. So down at the bottom, there's this button that says Set Custom Slide Order. And when I check or uncheck that, let's hope that that saves what I had. Okay, good. It did. If this is unchecked, and then when I go into the queue itself, I'm going to have to hit Save. When I go into the queue itself, it's going to only show me the order of the things I have one at a time. But if I go in here and say Set Custom Slide Order, now what's happening is I'm able to add things in from this column into this column in whatever order that I want. And when I save that, it's going to remain accurate for the person running the slides. So let's say down here at the bottom, I'm at ending 1, and I really wanted to put ending 2 after that. I could put ending 2. Maybe we do that one twice. I'll hit ending 2 twice. Now it goes ending 1, ending 2, ending 2. I can drag these around as I need to. I'm going to hit Save, and now you'll see ending 1, ending 2, ending 2. Very cool, so that on the fly you can kind of come up and change an arrangement, get it set the way that we always do it, and you shouldn't have to do it again. So last thing on this one, just so you know, on songs, if you click up at songs, you got something that's not in CCLI, you can choose Create New and give it a name, Dr. Owen Test. And then we can start creating slides. And here we are, we have that template. I can type whatever text I want, and I can give it a label and say, hey, this is verse 1. And now I'm going to do a new slide. And I'm going to say blah, 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 times 2. And then I'm going to label this one the chorus. And then I could make another new slide and say, here's the last slide with weird capitalization. And let's call that one the ending. So there's my parts. They're all nicely labeled. I didn't have to relabel any of these, but I could rename any of them after I put a slide label on it. Then I can choose Set Custom Order and say, hey, I'm going to go verse 1 chorus, end, save, and now I have a song. It's called Dr. Owen Test. Nobody needs to ever see that in their life. So I'm going to come in here and choose Doctor to make my thing show up, double click and hit delete. That's the basics. You guys can go and watch a whole lot more tutorials on Worship Presenter's website, or Google things, or find user groups to learn more, but that will help you do a good job with it. One last note on stuff. If you notice in here, there's something that says PowerPoint. I don't know how that works on this particular program. For a lot of programs, what it does is launch PowerPoint inside another PowerPoint. That's not really best practice for doing this kind of stuff. So I would not recommend that people use PowerPoint. They make it in Google Slides. You might need to have PowerPoint installed for this to work, and all of our computers at Lutheran West don't at the moment that I know of. So that's the whole thing. I hope you learned something. Bye.